philosophies and approach to the worldview, to business, to life.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Over 500 multimillionaires that we already interview in this podcast. Sometimes when I ask them, if you had to start all over again, what would be the place that you will put more emphasis? Yeah. And especially tech entrepreneurs, they all coming back and telling me the same answer. They tell me, Harry, culture. If I knew that this business is going to take me 100 times harder than what I thought and longer than what I thought to make it work, I will put more attention in my team. I will put more attention in my co-founders. I will put more attention in growing this team. And what I mean by putting more attention is exactly, Rhonda, what you're describing about having these relationships with the team, with the people that are hand-to-hand building a company with you, you know, how you look at your team, and you need to look a lot of problems that we see in companies, yeah, is that we see males, white founders, yeah, but then when you look at the clients, the clients are men, women, Chinese, Black. So how do you think that the clients they're not gonna be reflected into the culture of the team, yeah, but also
very important that
yes.
you do it
So
entirely.
Rhonda, tell us, how come by having a diversity, I'm talking about this, about women, particularly women, that, you know, they are underfunded, you know, all these tech projects, you know, if you put boys, a bunch of white boys, everybody give them millions, yeah, and then you have women, women of color, or with amazing projects, amazing ideas, and they cannot find the money. So tell us, and which it comes also to emotional intelligence, to a lot of things that you do, that you work on and you do research. So tell us a little bit more. How do you think that culture and actually an emotional intelligence, which is something that is like the glue to keep that culture together. What advice do you have for founders that they are starting the company and they're not taking seriously what we're talking about at the very beginning?
Well, you're speaking to the choir here, because think about it. I am that underprivileged individual, but before we cast stones, we have to realize where it comes from. Historically, men were the ones that were allowed to, whether it be vote, handle the money, you know, have bank accounts, own real estate.
Vote.
Vote.
They were allowed to vote also before
but women were in some areas of the world still aren't allowed. And so instead of casting the first stone, it takes women to work with men and help them understand their value. My sister told me one time, if you're in a meeting room with all men, do not make the coffee. And I was kind of confused by this advice early on in my life, right?
Oh, it was very powerful statement.
Yes, it is.
You're just trying to be nice, but she has a very powerful point. Yes. It's a point.
You do. You're always delegated to make the coffee. Nothing wrong with making coffee. But what it does is it puts you in a supportive role versus an equal
100%,
role.
100%. Yeah.
So what you have to do as a woman, and twice as much for anybody of any ethnic group that's trying to build their way up, is you have to realize the power that you have. And the power comes from your knowledge and preparation. And yes, you may have to work a little harder. And I've been in interviews before. I can remember one of my very first interviews in for a sales position that I did not get. The guy said, well, you know, why should I hire you? And I gave them this long list of reasons to hire me. And then he said, well, you know, I'm not sure I'd want to hire you, but I might want to date you. So we have to realize our power comes from the fact that we have a stereotypical patriarchal world. And then when we understand that, then guess what? We have to learn how to navigate that word and prove our worth. I'm sorry, that does mean that maybe we have to work harder. But guess what?
We have to. There is no choice to work with them. Look, at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you two stories. Yeah, number one, my personal story when I built my own company. Yeah, I decided to hire women. Yeah, and I tell you why. It was because they were very assertive. They were telling me the truth, you know. Women, when you don't want to go out with the men, you say, okay, why you don't want to go out with me? And they will say, oh, because you're ugly. I don't like you. Women will tell you directly the problem. This for business is amazing. So when I hired my managers and my sales team, they were mainly females. And I remember when the guests would give me headache, you know, headache means, you know, Harry, you need to look into this, you need to look into this. I knew that when the guests are telling me the same thing 2-3 times, I really need to look into this. It was something that need to be dealt with. But guess what happened? You know, the girls fired me from my own company. I arrived one day to my company and the girl told me, Harry, you don't need to come to this company anymore. Go home. I'm like, what? And they were telling me, in fact, the only problem in this company is you. I'm like, what, me? And they sent me, they sent me and said, look, go holiday, stay at home. You don't need to come here anymore. We can run this without you. And this is how I make myself obsolete in my very first company, you know, which was a roller coaster. I'm not telling you a long story short. But one of the biggest things that I did to make this happen, it was the most of my team were women. Now, I interviewed the Minister of Finance of Zimbabwe, I think 8 months ago, and this is what he told me. And he told me, Harry, we are doing, you know, some loans in Zimbabwe because so the people can take this money and grow the vegetables and start a little bit of business, then get paid back the loans, and then they can borrow more money and they can grow a little bit more. And like this, we are, you know, trying to help the minority startups so people can have some meanings, right? So guess what happened? He told me that for everybody they're lending, they have like 80% of the women they're paying back the loans and asking for more loans and paying back better than men, you know. So he was very happy. He told me that it's actually very profitable lend money to women. He's talking for the government point of view. He told, you know, that our experience in the program, what we realize is that, well, more women than men are actually paying back the loans and borrow more money and growing more vegetables, getting more than men, because, you know, of course, the women have kids, they have responsibilities, so they cannot take the money that the government give them and go and gamble with it. They have responsibilities, so they actually need to make the thing that they're trying to do work, so pay them loan back so they can ask for money again and to grow a little bit more. So, which it comes to show you that women have the same power of men. It's just that we know, you know, John Gray, he wrote the book Women Are for Venus and Men Are for Mars. I have the pleasure of meet him a few years ago. He has sold 50 million books. And he told me, Harry, we are different. Men and women, they're different. They have different needs, but one is not above the other one. We're just different. Yeah.
We just think different. We put value in something different. We see the
But that
word.
doesn't mean that you're worth less. Yeah.
My dad used to say, you can tell the economy by the trucks on the road, what type, how many, that's going down the road. So next time you drive down a busy highway or something, look around. What trucks are on the roads? That tells you what's selling. That tells you who's shipping. That tells you if
Wow,
it's
that's very clever.
Yeah, very clever. I used to tell them, this tells you the difference between men and women in their thinking. But you can tell a person by how they treat the animals in the world.
Wow. Yeah.
So two different philosophies and approach to the worldview, to business, to life, equally important, but different. Men think concretely about facts and thought. Women think more broad and use more of the empathetic view of what is the impact of those decisions when it comes to. Now, I think men are coming around, as we've been preaching for years now, not only for our own rights as women to work and own our own and have our businesses, because there was a time when those opportunities weren't there, and don't take it for granted. But women have been telling men, start looking around, look at that vision, which is step one. How are you going to be successful? Scan internally and learn the knowledge. Get to a point where you understand not only yourself, but others' emotions. And when you do that, you can make better decisions. It doesn't matter if it's a man or woman. We've been talking men or women, but it also talks about, it's about culture. People look at things. Like, for instance, I'm American, and we're raised very young. Individualism. What have you done? What have you done? We don't think in a we very often. We're like the talking heads that say, hey, I. Because that's all we think about is how does it affect me, mine. But guess what? When we put the we in it,
we live in a community. We are human beings.
And guess what? I bet you're more apt to tell me what's going on in your department if I'm saying we.
Absolutely. 100%.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.